morning, guys. Today we are going to see the third chapter of history, that is civil administration in British India. In the previous chapter, we saw how the European countries they came to India and what intention they came to India, and out of the European powers, how Britishers gained the dominance, how Britishers became important political force from mere traders after the Battle of Plassey and Boxer, and with the policies like subsidiary alliance, doctrine of lapse, and misgovernance established or introduced by Lord Wellesley and Lord Dalhousie, how they benefited the Britishers in annexing the territories of India under their control. All those things we saw in the earlier chapter. So from that we can understand that Britishers underwent many steps in consolidating their strength in India. So out of that we are going to see three major steps here. The first one, they created the civil service to recruit officers to serve in India under East Indian Company, and then they passed many acts to make them ruler in British India. And the third one, they set up armed force, police force, and judiciary for effective governance of the territory of British India. Next one, administrative setup. Their real intention was revealed after they annexed the Indian territory. Um and they also realized that controlling a large number of population and the huge territory, it will be very difficult. So they have to set up a proper administrative setup. So for that they formulated many administrative policies, but every time when they are formulating administrative policies, they used to have three goals in their mind. That is, all the time the trade should be profitable to the English, and the second one, converting the territories as a source of profit making, and the third one, consolidating the territories under their control. These are the three main goals at the back of their mind whenever they are constructing a administrative policy. The next one, officers and the misuse of power. So East Indian Company, they employed many officers for different tasks and duties, and they were provided with power and responsibility, but often these officers misuse their powers and responsibility, and actually they employed for making good profit for the company, but instead they lined the profit to their pocket, and they also illegally bought cheap Indian goods, and they sold it in the market for out of 100 to 15 50 to 100% more profit than what the cost they bought. And other foul practices, they started getting bribe from the people. So all these things actually affect the East Indian Company in a huge manner, and the East Indian Company end up in a heavy debt. When all these malpractices were came to know by the authorities in England, they want to put a check for that one. So British Parliament, they passed a regulation to put a check on the power of the East Indian Company and the officers in both commercial and political purpose. And out of that one, the first regulation act was the Regulation Act of 1773. So here, the Regulation Act is aimed at checking the power of the East Indian Company and the officers. The main officers now, they have to submit the papers and documents related to revenue, civil, and military functions of the company directly to the British Parliament. And then the British Parliament declared the Governor of Bengal be the Governor General of India for British territory, and he was provided with the council of another four educated officials to serve the East Indian Company, and the Governor General of Bengal was provided with the authority to supervise the presidency of Madras and Bombay. The drawback of the Regulation Act, that the power of the Governor General and the Council was not clear-cutly demarcated, so often a conflict was arised between the Governor General and the councils when they are trying to exercise their duty. And the Governor of Madras and Bombay were not like to subserve the Governor General of Bengal. So they often take their own decision and without consulting or informing or bothering about the Governor General of Bengal. Next one, Pitt's India Act 1784. The Pitt's India Act was introduced by William Pitt, the Prime Minister of Bengal, sorry, Prime Minister of Britain, in 1784. This one was established to rectify the drawbacks of the Regulation Act of 1773. He actually replaces the council by board of control with 6 members, the governor general along with other 5 members. Their main function is to regulate the company's revenue, civil and military activities. And now the governor general was provided with a higher authority over the council. He can either cancel or rectify the council's advice now. And he was provided with higher authority over the Madras and Bombay presidencies. So Pitt's India Act 1784 made the Governor General as the supreme commander of British force in India. Next one, the Charter Act. Charter Act 1813 actually ended the East Indian Company's monopoly over Indian trade. And this paved way for the other Englishmen to establish their trade link with Indian merchants. And also, the same way, this East Indian Company somehow it retains the tea trade with China. Um, that one was taken away by the Charter Act of 1833. And the Charter Act 1853 actually provided higher control, greater control over the East Indian Company and the British India for the British Parliament. Next one, the civil service. The civil service was introduced by Lord Cornwallis, and this civil service played a crucial role in the administration of British India, and and it helps the Parliament to have a control over the British India. And Lord Cornwallis he established, he formulated many strict rules so that the officers will discharge their duties successfully and faithfully. And he increased the salary so that the officers won't think of bribes. And he also motivated the officer to work properly, honestly, by providing promotions for the good workers. And so this civil service thus appealed to many educated youths. So by 1801, Fort William College was established in Calcutta for training the civil servants. The same way in England, Haileybury College was established for training the civil servants for most of the posts, different posts. And earlier, the higher administrative officer of the East Indian Company, he used to nominate the civil servants in the East Indian Company. But later, from 1853, competitive exams were conducted for the civil servants. And next one, this English people actually discriminated the Indians in getting the higher post in civil service, like high authoritative post or the salary more than 500 euro a year. So all those posts were reserved for the English youths, and the lowest posts were allotted for the Indian youths. By 1861, ICS Act was established, that is the India Civil Service Act. And the next one. So, since the Britishers they have to rule a large territory, so for an effective administration, they divide the Indian territory into smaller groups. The smallest division is the district. The district was administered by the collector. So he also does supervision of revenue collection along with the general administration. And apart from the collector, a magistrate was also installed to maintain the law and order. He was responsible for administering justice to everyone. The next topic is the armed force. The armed force was established to have a control over the large territory under British India, and these armed forces were used to suppress the internal strips and revolts which were against the British government. And in that armed force also, the Indians were discriminated. They were employed as sepoys. And these sepoys were maintained by the British officers. And these sepoys were recruited from the modern state Jharkhand, Bihar, and Uttar Pradesh. And these English, they make sure that their armed force was well disciplined, trained, and well paid. The next topic it is the police force. The police force was introduced by Lord Cornwallis, and he made it as a on permanent basis. And every Indian territory, every Indian district had a thana, that is police station, with a head called daroga. And every small towns and villages they had police post called chowkis. And district superintendent of police was the most important one, who does the policing duty throughout the district. And in this police force also Indians were discriminated, and they were employed in the lowest cadres. And by establishing this police force in British India, they were able to bring down the crime rate in British India. Next topic, it is the judiciary. So when English they came to India, there were no common law for everyone in any of the kingdom, and these people they don't want to disturb that one also. Earlier, these Indian kingdoms they used to give judgments or punishment according to their traditional manner, and these English people they don't want to disturb it, but still it was very difficult for them to practice the English law as well as the local law. This English law was introduced for only Europeans. But in practice, practicing both English law as well as the local law became very difficult for them. So they brought the Bengal Regulation Act in 1793, which declares that justice will be provided by the written law. All the traditional custom laws, local laws, will be pushed to the backseat. And the judiciary system in India, we have to thank, for the judiciary system in India, we have to thank Lord Cornwallis and Lord Warren Hastings, and they actually shaped the judicial system in India. And every districts were provided with criminal and civil courts, and they established the Law Commission in 1833. And this Law Commission actually provided the law, and they created the Indian Penal Code. So by this, the third chapter of history is over. Thank you, class.